another video, I talked about the rave technique and how it can help you memorize anything faster and easier. If you haven't watched that video, you can click on the link somewhere here and watch it. Now, in this video, I want to specifically talk about the first letter R in rave, which stands for repetition. It's time to level up your memory game. So, what is repetition? Now, repetition is exactly what it sounds like. Repetition, repeating something over and over. Repetition helps you to remember. Repetition is the simplest yet one of the most powerful tools in your memory toolkit. It's like training your brain to get used to information by going over it again and again and again. Think of it like going to the gym. The more you work out a muscle, the stronger it gets. The more you repeat something, the better your brain gets at holding on to it. Now, our brains are constantly taking in information, but not everything sticks around. Thank God for that, right? Because can you imagine if you memorized everything that happened to you? But now, for the stuff that we do want to memorize, we do want to remember, that's where repetition comes into play. Now, repeating information strengthens the neural connections, which helps transfer it from your short-term memory, where it's only temporarily held, to your long-term memory, where it can be stored indefinitely and where you can recall it in the future. Now think of short-term memory as like a sticky note that you might put a note on and you might lose it, and long-term memory as a well-organized filing cabinet. So why exactly does repetition help us remember things? It all boils down to how our brain processes and stores information. At the core of this process are neurons. They're tiny little cells in our brain that communicate with each other through connections called synapses. When you encounter new information, your neurons start firing signals to each other across these synapses. Now, this initial signal is kind of weak. It's like a faint trail through a forest, but then every time you repeat a certain information, that trail gets more and more worn in, making it easier for your brain to follow in the next time. This strengthening of synapses is known as synaptic plasticity, and it's a key part of forming memories. Now, you don't really necessarily have to know all of that, but I just thought it'd be interesting for you to get some, scientific background information on why repetition is important. Now, let's see how repetition actually works. Imagine your brain as a garden, right? When you first hear something, it's like planting a seed. But if you don't water it, if you don't give it enough nutrients, that seed won't grow. Repetition is like watering your memory garden and making sure those seeds sprout and thrive. For example, let's say you're trying to remember the word elephant. If you just hear it once, it might slip away. But if you hear it again and again, elephant, 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 your brain starts to create these strong connections, and suddenly that word sticks in your mind. Now, I want to show you this cool trick. If you use the rave technique, you can make elephant, to me, elephant sounds like Ella faints. Now, I have a friend called Ella, and that's where association comes in, and I'm gonna imagine her standing in front of a huge, gigantic elephant, and as soon as she sees the elephant, she faints. And make it even more exaggerated, which is the E in rave. Maybe the elephant sees elephant and then starts running over it. And now by repeating this visual over and over again, it's gonna help me to remember the name elephant. Now, there are two types of repetition, and this is very important. We have passive repetition and then active repetition. Passive repetition is when you just skim through something without really engaging, like listening to a podcast in the background or listening to someone speak or just reading something really casually. Active repetition, on the other hand, is when you're fully involved, you're reading, you're speaking, you're writing something, and you're really actively doing it. Active repetition is where the magic happens because you're giving your brain multiple ways to lock in the information and you're focusing on the information. You're paying attention to it. Now, here's a little secret weapon. Spaced repetition. Instead of cramming all your repetitions in one sitting, you gotta spread them out over time. It's like giving your memory garden just like the right amount of water over several days. For example, example, if you're studying for an exam, review the material today, then again tomorrow, then a few days from now, and then, just a month from now, and so on and so forth. And by spacing it out, it helps your brain move information from your short-term memory to your long-term memory. Here's where it gets really interesting. Our brains are actually wired to forget. In fact, there's something called the forgetting curve, which shows how quickly we lose information after learning it. A repetition, especially when spaced out over time, helps flatten this curve, and each time you review the material, you're essentially reminding your brain, hey, don't forget this, this is important, which strengthens those neural connections even more. Now, repetition does not have to be boring. And there are other few creative ways to use repetition in your daily life. Flashcards. This is old school, but it's gold. You can write the facts down, the terms, part or one side of the flashcard, and then write the definition or the term on the other side, and then quiz yourself regularly. You can even put pictures if you're a visual person. Voice memos. This one is my favorite. Record yourself saying something or saying what you need to remember and listen to it while you're on the go, while you're driving or you're at home or like just sitting around not doing anything. Teach someone else. Explaining what you've learned to someone else forces you to repeat and reinforce the information in your own mind. Remember, like I said, repetition is like nurturing a plant. The more you care for it, the more it grows. So the next time you're trying to memorize something, don't just glance at it once. You got to revisit it, you got to repeat it, you got to watch how you do it, you got to do it by spaced repetition and use different tools, the rave technique for sure, and see how your memory garden blooms. And don't forget, this is just the R in rave, okay? So we have this other A, B, E that are gonna, make rave what it is, and it's gonna help you memorize things faster and easier. So I'll cover the other sections to the rave technique in other videos. You can watch the other video on rave and get a sense of what they are. And I've kind of hinted to them in this video as well. But for more memory boosting tips coming your way, make sure that you subscribe to this channel. And if you found this video helpful at all, give it a thumbs up. And again, subscribe for more ways to sharpen your mind and achieve your goals. And as always, keep striving for progress and not perfection, and keep chasing after your dreams. And I will see you in the next video.